And this second commandment is closely tied to believing in God. It's if you believe in God, that's the first commandment. There is, I'm the Lord your God. You shall have no false gods before me. The second commandment is about really living that. And I think what St. Robert Bellarmine points out is how we use our language is significant.
Welcome to the Bishop Strickland Hour. My name's Terry Barber. I'm your host. Bishop Strickland, welcome. All right, here we go, folks. The second commandment, you shall not take the name of the Lord God, your God, in vain. How many people listening right now have heard that take place at work or at home? Later, we're going to talk about how we can actually help that situation out with people and also by our actions. But Bishop Strickland, this is a very important commandment, is it not?
Absolutely. It really, Terry, I think like we've talked about with each of the commandments, it's just, I'd use the image of the tip of an iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what each commandment is. It's just a little, a few words that has a huge basis of that is so important for us to, for all of us who feel called and believe we are disciples from our baptism. It's very significant that we come to know much more of that iceberg. I mean, as you're pointing out, to just know the tips of the icebergs of just the Ten Commandments to start with, but then to keep going deeper. Since we started this conversation about the commandments, I've uncovered a book that, I have many books on my shelves, and it's a timeless catechism of St. Robert Bellarmine.
Oh, my God.
And, a great saint.
Great.
And it just reminds us that through the ages, people have thought about these commandments and have helped to dip into that iceberg. And it's really an endless well of truth and beauty and goodness. And this second commandment is closely tied to believing in God. It's if you believe in God, that's the first commandment. There is, I'm the Lord your God. You shall have no false gods before me. The second commandment is about really living that. And I think what St. Robert Bellarmine points out is how we use our language is significant. We all know that. If I just said, hey, you, then that's different. For you to call me Bishop Strickland or Bishop Joseph, and for me to call you Terry, that it already brings us to a level of intimacy that is important. It's about human relating to human, and to use the name of God, which, as we know in the Hebrew tradition, they didn't even want to use the name of God because God was so sacred for them. I think we can take a page there from the Hebrews that, to use the name of God is a sacred act, and it can help to deepen that relationship with God or help to erode it. And sadly, I mean, I don't want to pick on your medium, but you turn on the radio, you turn on the television, you watch a movie, you read a book too often these days, and you're going to see the name of God, whatever form of the name of God, whether Jesus Christ or God the Father, used in blasphemous ways that it's a habit, it's a bad habit that even believing Christians can fall into. And I think we really need to wake up to the destructive nature of that, because it's just like knowing the name of God is a privilege. Speaking the name of God is a privilege. And to abuse that name by disrespect and using it as a, something you say when somebody, passes you too fast on the highway or any kind of circumstance, it's used as an expletive rather than as the sacred name of God. I think that begins to erode our relationship with God and our relationship with each other. So I don't think we can overstate how important it is, the second commandment. And and overstate how far we've eroded from keeping the name of God sacred. I mean, you watch a movie these days and you'll hear Jesus Christ mentioned, but not in a worshipful way, but in a blasphemous way that sometimes is connected to some of the deepest iniquity in our human society. And we need to call that out and help young people to change that and to say, let's keep the name of the Lord sacred instead of allowing it to be just this expletive that is used like with so many other crass and evil words that are just too often in the vocabulary, even of young people in our schools and in our families, because they hear it in the media and you see it on social media. I'm surprised at, when people disagree with something that I tweeted, I'm not surprised they disagree, but I have to admit I'm naive enough, I guess, to be surprised that at the language they use, they'll actually, even if